Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we are going to talk about Karador, the Ghost Chieftain, in deck number 455. Now, Karador was a deck by request from one of the patrons. That is one of the patron benefits. I, and that request was by Mr. Jake Williams. Thank you very much, Jake. If you want to sign up for Patreon and to be part of the Discord there. If I have not built a deck yet, I will move it to the front of the line. And I do apologize that this deck has taken so long. I was kind of in that M20 groove. And as I was getting cards for it, I was kind of getting cards for this. And anyway, but as you all know, the original Commander set I bought in foreign language because it was really, really cheap. And I was not banking on there being new cards. So anyway, I'll read you what Karador does. Of course, the 8 mana 3/4 you can see costs one generic less to cast for each creature in your graveyard. And during each of your turns, you may cast one creature card from your graveyard. So I had started to sort this deck out into piles like I normally do, but you know what? Most of the deck is creatures. I've got 40 something creatures in here, and all the slots are kind of creatures. So I guess we will start with mana ramp or color fixing, as it were. Um, Abzan Banner is the only rock in here, if you will. I mean, I have Scuttlebutt, but I have that. I'm running the Scuttlebutt over like a ingot or something like that, simply because it is a creature and it can't die, and I can sacrifice it. So that's sacrifice is a very, very huge part of the deck. So our little mana guys like the Avacyn's Pilgrim, taps for the white mana. The Elves of Deep Shadow is going to tap for the black, and of course the Llanowar is going to tap for the green. So those are all great because once you get to if you get them early and once you get to the point late, well, you can sack them off and it's no big deal. You can sack them for effect. Um, Running Veteran Explorer, and yes, it's gonna speed the game up, especially if we get to cast him every, maybe not every turn. There's probably something else better you want, but Secure Tribe Elder is another option. Frontier Guide, I have ramped so much. It's weird. It's funny. If I get the Frontier Guide and the means to cast and activate this card, that's because I know a board wipe's coming, or I know somebody's going to shoot the guide. I'm going to do this as long as I can feasibly do it. Now, if I'm getting, drastically outclassed or what have you. But, so, we're looking to put creatures into the graveyard. So, honestly, the first couple creatures, Brawn, to give all your alive creatures trample. And then how about Genesis, so that we can spend 3 if we want to, because Karador only lets us cast 1 a turn from the yard. So we might want to cast more than that, especially if we've got the number 1 card everybody wants to cast over and over again is Spore Frog, of course. So now, do I have a... I guess we will try to sift through this and get sacrifice outlets. Of course, we have a Carrion Feeder. You can, just sack a creature for free to put a counter on it. The Fallen Angel, it's not a counter, but it's +2. She's a flyer. It's all good. Teysa, you can sack black or white creatures. Fleshbag Marauder, everybody's going to sack something. And then Tuco Husk, you can, for a temporary +2. Grim Backwoods, sacking a creature to draw a card. Benevolent Bodyguard sacrifices itself to grant protection, which this is not a bad card to keep recurring. Thrashing Brontodon is, albeit it's kind of an expensive naturalize, but it's a naturalize only when you need it, and the rest of the time it's a 3/4 body, so that's not bad. Yavimaya Elder, uh, just a solid card advantage card, especially if you can keep casting it from the graveyard. Disciple of Bolus is going to eat something when it comes in. Lotleth Troll, while not a sacrifice outlet, if you draw those mana elves late, it gives you something to discard them to. Bone Splitter is going to essentially sacrifice itself because, let's face it, we're not paying that echo. I'm going to give Cabal Therapist a try. I mean, in a singleton format, it doesn't seem like that great, but with the idea of we can cast it over and over again, that's it has my attention a little bit. Vampire Hexmage is, of course, in there to murk target Hydra and or Planeswalker. So Big Game Hunter, that's a good card. It comes into play, it does its thing, and then you can sack it something else and cast it again for that sweet ETB trigger. Ranger Captain of Eos, I mean, it sacrifices itself right in there, and it goes and gets your various one drops. Spore Frog. That's what we're getting. Vesper Lark, kind of the same thing. Teysa Karloff, hey, dying trigger, or what do they call him, Teysa? Death Harmonicon. Conclave Cavalier, when you sack it, or I say when you sack it when it dies, odds are we're going to sack it, Jake. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to get two 2/2s out of the deal. Karmic Guide, of course, is going to bring stuff back. Oh. Here's my comedic moment. I could not resist this. Oh, weird. Glaring. That's the downside of me recording over here from this side, is that I'm not staring right at that screen, so I have to glance over every once in a while. Mitoic Slime is just absolutely hilarious. Oh, and not only is it hilarious, it's actually functionally great for the deck because it's a creature you sack that replaces itself with 2 creatures. So if you're doing that Fallen Angel Carrion Feeder sack thing, wow. You just keep getting, and you can sack the slime, get 2, you sack the big slime to get 2 medium slimes, and you can recast the big slime, and if at any time you can sack the medium slimes, you get 2 little. It's the way. Ashnod's Altar, just because we need lots of ways to sacrifice, so that's what we're doing. Cruel Celebrant. Another creature or planeswalker you control dies. Each opponent loses 1, you gain 1. That sounds real familiar. It sounds a lot like the Zulaport Cutthroat. The Vindictive Vampire. And the opposite side of that is the Corpse Knight. And yes, I'm specifically using the pre-release version that's misprinted to be the 2/3. I don't know. Right now on Archidect, it's one of those cards that has a 0 value. So, by the way, this deck is over on Archidect, just like all the other decks. Was it this week's deck to last week's deck, and any future deck will be on Archidect? I love the CCO boys. They have a heck of a show over there. Let's see what else we got here creature-wise. Acidic Slime is obviously removal, and once it's done its thing, which its thing is twofold. You're going to pop something on the way in, and you're probably going to pop something chump blocking it. Angel of Despair is a great card to keep recurring. 7 mana is kind of expensive, I get it, but I mean, I play Desert Twister, right? Let's see. Splinter Fright. Power and toughness each equal number of creatures in your graveyard. And this has trample. Now, this is a theme. Boneyard Worm is the same card without trample, so it's one less mana. Drakestown Forgotten gets counters, and then you can remove the counters to make something smaller. Revenant, it counts your dead creatures, and this has flying. Izani, man, another sack outlet. Underrealm Lich, while not a sack outlet, almost better, because you look at the top 3 cards, you get 1, and the other 2 you pitch it out in the yard. So, in theory, you are putting creatures there. Now, okay, let's hit some removal, shall we? Deicide, because when Deicide was first printed, there were 5 cards it interacted with, right? The original 5 Theros gods. But in just the Theros block alone, there was 15. And then we got more, and then we got more, and then we got more. Now there are a bunch of actual playable gods in our format. So, yeah, it is 2 mana for a bad disenchant if it's not a god. But if it is a god, hey, and there are some of those that are just insane that you need to get rid of. So I thought it was worth a slot. Got a Beast Within, Murder, Mortify, and I want to talk about Choke. I want to talk about Choke because Choke is one of those cards where you're like, really, you run Choke? Well, I'll tell you why. And the personal philosophy I have with Choke is I'm going to look across before I cast it at the blue player, and I'm going to say, are you running Cyclonic Rift? And if they say yes, then I'm going to cast the dang Choke. Anyway, Diabolic Intent is a tutor that actually the sacrificing of a creature is not so much a downside in this deck. It's we want to be sacrificing creatures. I mean, we want to be getting those creatures into the graveyard, like Grizzly Salvage kind of way. Danny Roach, we're going to try Deadbridge Chant yet again. He jokes about every 6 months he runs it out and tries to find it at home, and he never does. But hey, that's not. I mean, it's not bad in a heavy creature deck because you choose the card at random, and if it's a creature, you get to put it on the battlefield. Otherwise, you get it to your hand. So, we're going to give it its day in the sun. Now, what do you think about Altar of Bone? Now, I did not realize this was a reserve list card, but it sure enough is. You sack a creature to go get a creature. Is that right? Sack a creature, look through your library for a creature card, put that card in your hand. After showing it to all, of course, you got to show it to prove it's a creature. Yeah, sack a creature, get a creature. And this is the perfect deck for it. Debtor's Knell. I love those guild kits giving me another copy of Debtor's Knell. I mean, at the beginning of your inkeep, put target creature from a graveyard on the battlefield under your control. It doesn't have to be yours. You know, it can be anybody's. But we know it's usable with ours. We know that we're going to be putting creatures into the yard. I forgot this cool card that counts dead things. Hey, turns into a really, really big land. Moldervine Reclamation. A creature control dies, you gain 1 life and draw a card. So there's some card drawing for us. Of course, we'll run good old-fashioned Putrefy, Graze of Granite, and Chain of Acid. I know it's been a while since I've talked about the Chain of Acid, so I target the second most powerful thing on the table, because my hopes are to get 2 permanents off of this. And yeah, if one of them is mine, so be it. But more likely than not, I'm going to pick. Okay, threat assessment is a real thing, and we all know it. But the thing about threat assessment is what's threatening to me may not be threatening to you. I have to analyze what exactly is threatening to you. That way, I know if you could have any card off the board, what would it be? So I'm going to pick one of your cards to pop with the Chain of Acid, knowing that this other guy's whatever is what you want off the board, so you will keep the chain going. So essentially, I got a 2-for-1. I cast one card and destroyed 2 permanents. It's one of those things you just got to think around. And if they want to bounce it back to me, hey, I'm good with that too. I will keep bouncing it. Other end is just good, clean removal. Songs of the Damned. Um, while Songs of the Damned, I don't know so much that we should be classifying it as ramp, but because it's late game, I mean, you've got to have a certain commitment to the graveyard before Songs of Damned becomes worth anything. But there is a definite value to it. Camaraderie, just to gain some life, draw some cards. I mean, and I think, what is this, deck number 455? This is the first deck I've ever run Garrick Relentless in, because it kind of does all the things we want to do, even both sides. So, overrun, because, trample is never a bad thing. So let's look at our land base. Obviously, I have the basics in there. Oh, and I forgot the last deck was the Kytheon deck. I totally forgot to actually put it up on the wall. I mean, to film putting it up on the wall. So, of course, we're going to start off with Ash Barrens because it's just a good card. Our black-white ones of Salt Flats, Tainted Field, the Guild Gate, Scoured Barrens, Forsaken Sanctuary, on into Jungle Hollow, Golgari Guildgate, Selesny Guildgate. Let's push some of this air out. Y'all know how when you double sleeve cards and you first put them in the sleeves, there's a little bit of air. Luckily, these boxes are perfect for getting that out. Once you smush them all in the box, it takes that right out. Then our any color lands, of course, the Tower, the Wilds, Terramorphic, Citadel. Got a Rot Farm mixed in there. Promenade, City of Brass, and the Murmuring Bosk. That Murmuring Bosk, I'm not exactly certain why it doesn't see more play than it does. I love the Murmuring Bosk. Come on now. There we go. So, man, that's really kind of bright right there, isn't it? Hope that glare's not. I don't know. Does it glare too much, y'all? Was it better before I moved these 6 feet over? Of course, got to have your Mitoic Slime tokens. And that is it for Karador Ghost Chieftain. I do appreciate it, Jake. I'm glad that you suggested that one for me. We're going to put it right there on the wall. 455 is done. I do appreciate y'all watching, and thank you so much, Jake. Thank everybody for liking and subscribing. Hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, go right down and subscribe. I know there's a lot of new viewers. I do appreciate y'all watching, give me a chance, and we're just going to build some crazy commander decks. So I appreciate it. But right now, I do think it is time to shuffle and cut.